Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining the talk this morning. Our speaker today is my friend and colleague, Dr. Frederick Mortier. He's a statistician, and I did not say his name correctly, so he's gonna. I've given up on trying to say it. Right? My French is not so good. Is a statistician and senior researcher at the French Agricultural Research Center for International Development, CIRAD, Forests and Societies Unit. His research interests include applied statistics, especially joint models, Bayesian methods, matrix population models, mixture models, dimension reduction, and population ecology in tropical forests. He has published over 50 methodological and applied papers in peer-reviewed journals and has co-authored 7 R packages. He has been involved in several international projects and grants, including as a PI on a multi-institutional grant funded by the National Agency for Research in France. And he has co-supervised 10 PhD theses. He's an elected member of the section Environment and Statistics of the French Statistical Society and a member of the Scientific Committee Research Consortium in Ecology and Statistics. His talk today is Unveiling African Rainforest, Composition and Vulnerability to Global Change. So without further ado, let's thank our speaker.
Yeah. Thank you, Ali. Thank you. Did you hear me? Yes, it's fine? Okay. So, yes, as Ali said, I'm going to talk about the results of a long process research that we published in 2021 in Nature with different colleagues from France, from Belgium, from Africa, from US, Ali, Malet Adesse, professor, and so on. And this is because I'm working in a team that is involved understanding the impact of global change on tropical forests and mainly on the African tropical forest. So, as you know, there is a large and rapid climate change, and the future is very afraid due to climate change. And mainly in Africa, one thing is also very important is that we attempt that the half of the global populations will be mainly in Africa and mainly in Central Africa. And one thing is that it requires that to understand the impact of global change and impact of anthropogenic growth on tropical forests. And to do that, we need data. And in 2010, we start a project that's called Co4Change for Congo forest change that aim to understand the impact of past climate and the future of the forest. And with colleagues, we able to construct a first data set from 28 inventories, logging companies, but it was not enough. So in 2014, we continue and we increase the size of the data set with now inventories, and we have more than 185,000 plots covering 6 million trees. And so that's important, that trees are great, 30 centimeters at the diameter breast height. So it's not covering all the species, all the individual of the forest, but only the greater trees. And now this data are available for Cameroon, Central African Republic, Gabon, Congo, and DRC. And if we are thinking about what this works could be meaning, it's relatively equal to one person working for 1,000 years. So it's an impressive data set. And, but for to use this and to analyze this, we need also construct database. So what we developed is to construct, to merge, and to find a good taxonomy of species, trees, and so on. So we need also to have, so we need to collect data, but we also need to merge it in homogeneous database. And with this, what we can obtain is from this database is the traits of, so functional traits of species, but we also can develop above ground biomass database. And so we can extract many informations from all these data sets. And all these have been available and publicly available and published in different papers. But we also need methods to analyze this data. And what we use, for instance, so we had a project from Georgetown Environmental Initiative before the Earth Common. That's mainly aimed to produce some R package that is flex. So it's a mixture model for with selection that we developed with Professor Tadesse here and colleagues from CIRAD too. But it was not enough to all take into account. And so what we do, it's in 2019, I propose a new project that is called Gambas. So in French, it's like some, perhaps in English also, it's a shrimp. But we don't eat shrimp. Huh? We just generate advanced models for ecosystems and so on and so on. So, okay, it's just a funny names, and it's a French that did it, make this picture and this logo. And so the objective of this project was to develop models, and you will see here, it's just representations, it's models, distributions, multivariate, joint species, multivariate distribution. And so if we come back to the objective, if in black here you see it's the plots, the observations plot. And what we want to produce is the first floristic and functional composition map of Central Africa. And if we can do the first vulnerability of this forest, phase to climate change, impact of human activities, and to promote conservation strategies of this forest. So we need more information. So we need climate variables. So we have some sets from, it's not our objective, not development, it's come from international database. So we have climate variables. We also have some important things. It's the soil type that we know to impact structure of the forest. And what we also do is we develop a new anthropogenic index, a simple one, that be able to make some, so how this anthropogenic index is a simple one, depending on the population density and of accessibility for plot for human activities. And here you observe that it depends on one parameter, theta, and when these parameters increase, it's going, the strength of the the probability of the pixel to be touched by human activities will increase. So based on this, so now what we have many climate variables that are correlated. So for instance, it can be rainfall during 3 months, hottest to 3 months, and so on. We have some variable that we want to have specific effect. So we want for the first 24 variables to have some regularizations. And for the 2 others, we want to keep it in state. And so what we do, we develop what we call supervised component generalized linear regression with colleagues from the University of Montpellier. And the objective is to simplify in common structures the 24 climate variable. It's difficult for me to see it. And to keep the 2 others as predictors. And so this is available in our package that's called SCGLR. And using this, we're able to find the common environmental conditions that may predict efficiently all the species in the same time. So it's why it's a joint model. And so using this, we may have the possibilities to observe the first component that we construct, that we're able to separate cool and light deficient dry season with high evaporation rates. A second component that is seasonality versus aseasonality. And the other is related to the maximum temperature in Central Africa. And that will be a real problem because all the model, climatic model, will predict that in 2050 or 85, that the temperature will increase of 4 or 5 degrees. And so we never see these things. So from this, we're able to predict the species distribution, and we obtain global correlation of 0.5. So we can say, okay, it's good, we are interested with this, but that results are true or not. Sorry. What we want to do is to be sure that what we predict is true. So what we do is we structure the environment, the plots, according to spatial coordinates, and we make some cross-validation. So we remove this one, we use all the others to predict, to estimate, and we predict this one, and we repeat this. And what the result of this is that when we are doing this, it's mainly that the predictions that we obtain at the species level is non-significant. So that means that the result is mainly related to randomness, spatial structures. But one thing is good, it's that at the community levels, the predictions are robust. So that's not true that the species, the abundance of a species is of given values, but the assemblage of the species is robust to the environment. And so what we can say is that we can discuss about floristic assemblage, but not at the species level. And we make the same thing for functional things. And so what we observe also is that we're able to have a good prediction of functionality, of functional forest composition. So at the level, at the species level, the predictions are not true. So it means that if I predict that there is 10 observations at this spot, it's not true. but the composition of these species with these others and so on are effectively well predicted. And so here it's for functional, and so we may have a functional convergence among floristic and type of forest that we can use. And here we have some, so we make a clustering just for have some practical ideas of tropical forests in Central Africa. And here, so you have some type of forest combining floristic and functional type of forest. So now we want, okay, that's this observation is for now, it's for today. What happened in the future? That's the question also. And what we prepare, what we did, is we make a concave, a 3D concave hill. And what we observe is that if we look at the future of the forest and the environmental conditions, it's that mainly due to the maximum temperature component, so the third component, that all the environmental conditions disappear from Central Africa. So we are not able to predict what will happen because we didn't have some environmental condition today. And so we will have to predict something that we don't know. So it's impossible, again, to predict composition of the forest, but we may have some idea of their vulnerability and how we do that. So we will define the vulnerability as very classical approach like sensitivity, exposure, and adaptative capacity. And so this is three that we may have some current climate gradient. We may have some prediction of the climate. And here we have information from phylogeny, diversity, that mean if there is a high variability, genetic variability, we may more able to adapt to change. And combining all this information, we may define a sensitivity index. And from this, what we observe that here, for instance, that in the middle of the Congo basin, there is low sensitivity. It does not mean that it's not, there is no risk. It's just is less sensitive. So that means here it's highly sensitive, for instance, in DRC, where there is a lot of high density of population, a lot of industrial mining project, and so on and so on. And so based on this type of map, we may have some recommendation. For instance, here in the, sorry, this is very high. In the north of Congo, Brazzaville, Congo, where there is low density of population, but we may have some promote some plantation. And to where we need, for instance, in the blue one in DRC, it's to protect, to tend to increase the number of protected area. And if we combine this information with what we know about protected area, we'll see that in DRC, there is mainly no protected area. So we have to push to develop forest concession and protected area in this part of the Congo basin. And so what I want to explain with this talk, it's mainly that we have to construct confidence with logging concessions to obtain data. Based on this, to develop new methodology to improve our understanding. And next, to combine all this with expert knowledge to have some practical results. And all this process starts in 2010 and finish in 2021. Sorry, 2010 and 2021. So it takes time to be concluded, to be finished, but it's not yet. Now we continue to work with, and this paper and these results have been published in this review in Nature, and we can hope that it's not completely a premonitory vision for African forests. Don't know how time would take, perhaps very short. No? Yes, sorry. Now we have time for discussion. And all the publications, if you need it, I can email you this publication and so on. Yes.
You know, if roads are a big determinant of deforestation, I mean, how much of it has to do with logging versus expansion of agricultural purposes? Like, I picture there being sort of a trade-off. You know, if you have better roads,
Yeah.
then agricultural products could get to the market, and you need less land to support the populations that are eating food.
So
Figure out what the determinant of deforestation is.
so for now in Central Africa here there is low density population. So deforestation is still low. It's not true in DRC and in the east of a part of the forest. And so perhaps I don't understand exactly what you mean.
Deforestation because of logging, like a logging industry versus because
logging is very
using
low.
agricultural land to support the population.
That's a true problem.
So would roads really be the roads really, like, would lowering road supply really be addressing the problem? You know, DRC is not connected, like the people can't get to the capital via road. Like this is a country that needs roads. So how is that gonna solve the problem?
Sorry.
DRC does not have they don't have good roads throughout the country. Increasing road supply, I imagine, would have benefits for
what we propose,
making it more.
for instance, for logging companies,
Yeah.
it's so when they open roads, the time to recover is very short for forest to recover. But you don't have to open new roads. The problem is that if you give access to population to go inside the forest, it will increase deforestation. So you have to block the road when you make some logging concession. You open it and you use it again 10 years or 20 years, normally it's 30 years after. So you keep the same road. You don't open new roads.
So are you saying that because you open roads, then the population?
Yes, yes, it is able to come and go inside. So the objective is to block the road that you open. And it's possible with big trees, with something, with stone, with something like this. It's possible. That's a paper that we published in the Conservation Journal with colleagues from Switzerland. And the objective is really to lock the road and to not give access to population to go inside. But one thing is, we are discussing here, that's perhaps not so nice what I'm saying, that it's, but it's that we are talking about forest diversity. But there is a lot of place where there is no more animals at all. Because hunting is here. Yes.
So if you are
we're blocking people's access to go into the forest from the road.
Yeah.
What alternatives do they have that would potentially be better for them or more sustainable? And how are those alternatives like presented and promoted? Would it be possible to like, you might have to physically block the road, but that is paired with like a really intense, like, this is how we are helping people instead, or this is how people can gain access to where they eat instead. So that like, so you disincentivize it as well as put up a physical barrier.
But yes, okay, here, if you, perhaps I understand, here there is the Kinshasa. Around Kinshasa, there is no more forest. So you can block, you can do something, there is populations, there is 15 millions or 20 millions of population that need charcoal, that need woods and so on and so on. In these areas, there is only plantations that can help or to change energy system. But if you are fixing on wood for energy, it's mainly over.
So I think if I understand the questions, these people need to survive.
Yes,
Overpopulation is a problem. They need to grow somewhere. So
yes.
slowly they're going to go into the forest. They're gonna
Yes, I know that there need to have some plantations. There is acacia. There is a lot of plantation.
So you put back that management strategy where you had like.
Yes.
So you have different areas with different strategies. right?
Yes. Yes. This one.
So you're essentially saying like there's no fix it all solution. It depends on the location. it depends
Yes.
on the-
Exactly. And we are not, yes, there is some place where we have to, if we want to save forest, we have to put protected area somewhere. And otherwise, we have to improve plantation and so on and so on. And it depends where we are. And that's the,
So
Yeah.
politically, is there like, so these are different countries, they're all Congo.
yes.
Like how much cooperation is there between the, you know, like you can't-
So there is research and there is collaborations by project and so on and so on. But if I give you an example in Indonesia, during 30 years, researchers said you have to increase size of the cut size for diameter, and you have to increase period of time for regeneration. 30 years after that, I heard the guy saying that. He said, okay, now we need money. So we decrease the size of trees and we decrease the size, the length of rotation. So it's political choice. And at this moment, researcher can say something, they don't care. So yes, yeah, I know. Yes, yeah.
To understand the methods a little more, so you measured the plots of about 100,000 hectares. right?
Yes.
And the composition, was that in one point in time?
No,
As understood, you measured the plots, then you came up
Mm.
with a statistical model.
not exactly.
The prediction was this original measurement of the plot? Or one?
Yes, so each point here is a logging concession, or this part is logging concession. And for logging concession, they have to make some plan to organize the rotations. So this is logging concessions that have certification. But this one is, for instance, in 25. This one is more in 27, I don't know. I don't remember exactly. So, but we assume that all these observations are at the same time. So there is no dynamics inside of the data.
Right, but then, and you construe then a model that would predict all of the
Yes.
basin. And how do you measure the adequacy of the model to the individual plots? Is it to the original measurements?
So what we did, there is different strategies that we promote, and so for instance, we start to make some spatial cross-validations for prediction. So what we made is we remove this concession. We use all the others and we predict this one. Okay, that's the first thing. So another way, it's what we do. We have the three components that we estimate, and we produce a spatial model. So a very a spatial co-structured model. So we simulate spatial structures of this component, this component, this component, taking into account their co-spatial correlation. And we simulate 500 times. So we have null model. And what we do, we estimate again, we predict the species distribution. And it's at this time that we observe that there is no link between, we just are saying that if we observe a species here, it's just related to the structure, spatial structure of the environment. But it's not true at the composition. So that we cannot predict species, but we can predict composition.
If I can follow up, you mentioned the functional convergence. What do you mean by that?
So functional is here based on the three, on the wood density. Functional mean in the wood density, deciduousness, and maximum diameter that can reach a species. We never observe this. Huh? It's theoretically she can reach this, but so that means the functional characteristic of the forest. Yes.
So this is all data that's coming from, I guess, logging companies that are
Yes.
doing surveys. Do you then bring in, or have you brought in remote sensing data or any other, I mean, there's JEDI and.
Oh, yes. Yes. No.
This is published a little before that, right?
Yeah. But we have also scientific plots. So mainly these results are based on the data from logging companies. But we also have, but it's very small compared to this one. We have scientific data, we have remote sensing that we can, have some interesting informations, but we don't have, from remote sensing, we do not have wood density where it's complicated. So we try to merge and to mix informations to check if it's working. And before all this work, Maxime and others working just to demonstrate that the use of the logging company's data is interesting for something. If you want to make some biodiversity analysis, you have not to use this type of data. But you can use it for functional analysis, you have to be clear what you can do with this type of data, with this one. So you need some analysis, some good methods to analyze this type of data, and so on and so on. You cannot do what you want. if I want to do make biodiversity analysis with this data, I miss all the species that are small. I have no trees under 330 the diameter breast height. So I miss a lot of things. So if I want to say that it's the biodiversity is changing, it's not true because I don't have time, and so on and so on. Yes.
Going back to your conversation about like which regions of the forest are more sensitive.
Yes.
To, like environmental change and climate change. I was wondering, do you know if the like, community level composition of different regions of the rainforest, like is that a predictor of any way, in any way of sensitivity? So like the biodiversity like of a region or like how the species composition is made up in that community, does that at all predict sensitivity to like environmental change?
Can you repeat, please?
So you're looking at things that could be predicting sensitivity of these forests to environmental change, right?
Yeah.
Does the community composition of a part of the rainforest, like, is that a predictor of sensitivity?
This is yes, this is a predictor of sensitivity. But one thing also is that we have to keep in mind that, for instance, here, and I'm not going in the. For instance, here we do not have a lot of informations. You see also that we have some limitations with information. Sorry. For instance, here we have nothing. No, there is a lot of trees. DRC, it's the biggest country, but there is no data.
But also, I guess your data, since it doesn't have all the species, then you can't really fully answer that.
No, no, because we have only 190 species, and not species. It can be taxa, or it can be at the greater level.
Is there a correlation, say, old growth forests are more resilient or more vulnerable to climate change?
I don't know.
Like thicker trees, do they have a better chance?
For us, what we are saying here is that I'm coming. It's very small and very big, large. This one. Okay. This one is what we define as more forest is genetically different. More is able to adapt climate change. But I think that we can make better than this kind of simple index. The problem is that we don't know exactly how to do this. What can explain that if the forest is, for instance, here, you have low genetic diversity. So it's mean for us that it's less adaptative. Yes.
Do you think that there's because assuming the logging companies put some thought into where they're gonna set up plots, is there bias introduced by where they are collecting data? Are they choosing not to even speculate, or do they not have rights to speculate in different plots that may have different functional types or different characteristics?
For this company, there is some rules that are defined by the countries. So they follow, and there is certification So behind this, there are the right to cut trees. And there are some certifications, so it's international FSC. So FSC certifications. So for this logging company. But there is a lot of debate on the impact of certifications, if it's working for forests but not for populations, and so on and so on. Nothing is perfect. So that's a.
So the certifications, how long are they issued for? Do they vary, or is it always a fixed thing?
It's a fix.
And do you, going back, I guess, to a question about variability over time, do you see an increase in certifications if you look at the timeline of data? I know you're collapsing it over time, but do you see any changes, or is it pretty flat over time?
I don't know.
Because I'm assuming that means new certifications being added.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
I have no idea. I've just read some papers that are very horrible on the human conditions. And I spent only 15 days. So I remember well when I was walking around here. And the populations, there is really different situations for pygmies or there, so it's very different.
It's a bit outside the scope of this work, but the Amazon basin is considered a tipping point. And as I understand, the Congo basin is slightly higher, 2 degrees Celsius cooler on average. Why is it not considered a tipping point?
Two things. So forest type in Congo Basin and Amazonian are very different. Here it's mainly semi-deciduous forest. In Amazonian is mainly evergreen forest. The anthropic pressure on Amazonia is higher for now. And but if we imagine that, as you said, that in 15 years or in 20 years, the populations increase is multiplied by 2. For me, there is disparition of the forest. And the tipping points is no, I don't know exactly what that means. I'm working on tipping points and to create model and so on, but it's conditional to the existence of the forest. If people are decided to come and to cut every tree, I think that we are not able to do something against. I cannot believe that there is some rules or some law that will come and say, no, don't touch it. Yes. Now, just for instance, I give this example because for me it's clear that England in the 18th centuries cut every tree to make boat. So there is no more forest in England. Yes.
When you're talking about logging, are you talking, is it all legal logging?
Yes.
Illegal?
Yeah, no, I'm talking about legal.
Is illegal logging?
But, this is an issue. It's mainly clearly more an issue than the legal companies. It's most around 1 tree or 2 trees per hectare. So that's the problem is the road that you open. But after that, only 2 trees, it's nothing. Even it can be not enough because there is some trees that need light for regeneration. So you should cut more trees to open the forest. Yes. No, but this is exactly what so it's management of a forest. You cut, but for regeneration. If if a forest remains untouched, it's not clear that she will survive. Sorry. Yes.
Be curious, are there any like existing like or surviving cultural practices that involve like forest management? And like is that something that still exists in this area that could be tapped into, or is that all?
In this area, I don't know. There is no, I know this in French in US. For instance, US Department of Forestry cut trees to manage it. It's not just leave it alone and that's it. So I think that it could be the same. And for instance, here there is some part of the forest that are completely covered of lianas and the marantacées. So that it's like a species that come and it's like invasive species, and no more regeneration come after that. So that's it. For me, it's a mix.
But I think her question also was about, I got it right, about sort of indigenous practices, not necessarily just.
Like the pygmies.
Yes, but that's, for instance, pygmies, I saw that only because I was only once during 15 days. So, but you can observe that there is some, for instance, honey on the top of the trees, and the pygmies will cut the trees. But they're living in the country. There is no practical for me. I don't know, but they are living in the forest. That's, for me, that's impressive. But I have no idea of practice. Yeah. Practice.
Well, thank you, everyone. I think
Thank you.
we had, I think, more question answered than the talk. It's length of the talk. Yeah, this is the first. Yes.
Comment?
Just a reminder, if you have any recommendations for the next semester's speakers, in particular today or at the end of the discussion, now it was your chance to get.
Yeah, it's, like any of us knows. Yeah.
Yes.
Some of them are unique. No, I mean, it's, outward-looking, actually,
Yes.
Very, very good. Thank you.
Yes.